Welcome back to Theresa's Dead. My name is Theresa and I'm very much alive. I have an awful garbage filthy mouth, so your discretion is advised, but if you're not into that or weird shenanigans, this is definitely not the place for you. Feel free to exit the video here. No harm, no foul, but I'll remember our time fondly. Y'all, I am so excited for today's video because we get to talk about Odin's Eye. Odin's Eye is a wonderful indie brand that comes out with some of the cutest collections I've ever seen. And this one is just so damn perfect. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you so much to Odin's Eye for sending these my way. And second of all, I want to say a huge congratulations to Betty, Jean, Amanda, and Lauren for creating this very, very beautiful collaboration called The Perfect World. These are so cute. So what I really love about Odin's Eye have been coming out with these influencer palettes. So the first set of palettes was the legendary Diversa collection, which we had from Tina, Annette, and Judy, and those were amazing. They were like little books. They were so beautiful. Then the next palette was Angelica's palette, which was awesome. And I was really curious to see if Odin's Eye was going to be doing another batch of influencer palettes, and I'm so happy they did because they are so adorable. And I also love the fact that they all look very, very different from each other. While the artwork and stuff has remained the same, like the design of the palettes have been completely different. And I like that. It's just everything's a little bit different, yet they all work together so well. That said, first and foremost, yes, I am affiliated with Odin's Eye, but I believe no codes will be available to use on these palettes. But if you ever wanted to pick up anything from Odin's Eye, which I highly recommend, their new single shadow collections, their multi-chromes, fantastic, or their highlighters or their blushes and all that good stuff, you can save 10% off if you use the code garbage. But again, I'm 99.99999% sure that the code does not work on these collaboration bundles. Pretty sure. But if they do, awesome. If they don't, I'm sorry. Now the whole collection retails for about $91.95. And not only do you get these 3 palettes, but you also get this beautiful this beautiful silk scarf, and you get 3 silk ties. Now you can only get all of these with these if you buy the bundle. If not, if you just buy 1 palette, I believe you get 1 silk tie, and that's probably while supplies last. I really like the silk ties. The one that I really, really love is the one that Angie put out. That's actually currently wrapped around the handle of one of my handbags. I like to pretend I have a Birkin. Clearly I don't have that kind of money. So I use the silk tie to make it seem like I have a super fucking fancy handbag. And I'm glad that I do. These are really, really nice material, and they're really beautiful. Again, they're the perfect handbag handle accessory. That said, let's talk a little bit about each of the palettes because for me, again, it's kind of giving me Captain Planet vibes, and I mean that in the best way possible. We have the sea, we have the earth, and we have Florida, and I fucking love it. I absolutely love it. So in today's video, I'm going to show you a look that I created with each one of these palettes and talk a little bit about my thoughts on them. Let's start off with my favorite one because I'm just, listen, I'm a slut for green. Let's talk about the Flora Story palette. So this palette retails for $33.90, and this was created by Makeup Just for Fun. So the first color is Dawn, which is a transparent color with white, pink, and gold multi-chrome shifts. Then you have Shroom, a matte light brown, Magnolia, a gray tone light purple pearl shine with multicolor shimmers, Sage, a mossy gray-green tone matte, Lush, a grass green pearl shine with green shimmers, Clover, a light gray green matte, Best Buds, a light gold shimmer with multicolor shimmers, Azalea, a gray toned light purple matte, Misty, a yellow greenish shimmer base with multicolor shimmers, and Orchid, a dark gray purple matte. This is my favorite one. This is absolutely my favorite color story out of the 3. This is the one that I can see myself kind of grabbing for time and time again. Why? Because listen, I am a sucker for greens. I really am. And this is just such a beautiful, soft, cool tone color story. I am hashtag motherfucking impressed. So I believe in my makeup hangover video, I focused on the greens. And I was gonna do that for today, but I was like, no, let's try the purples. The purples don't disappoint. If you're familiar with Odin's Eye formula, you're not gonna be disappointed. The mattes have incredible pigmentation. They blend very easily. There's little to no fallout unless you're kind of going a little heavy-handed. So like the shade Orchid, for example, I noticed a little bit of fallout, but that was just me, like literally like a bull in a china shop, just trying to get my eye look on really fast. But if you do take your time, you're not going to experience any like bullshit falling down on your face. Now, what I will say is that the shimmers, yes, there is a glitter bukkake galore, okay? And that kind of spans across these palettes as well as any Odin's Eye shimmer. Those are packed with sparkles and just all the goodness. So if you're not careful, you can have a little bit of a glitter bukkake situation. But but it's not the end of the world. So as always, I would advise for you to clearly do your eye makeup first and then your base, blah, 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 blah. Today, I did my base first and then my eye makeup, and I kind of have a glitter situation right here, but it's not terrible. Like, whatever. I look like I fucked a disco ball. I'm fine with it. What I like about this palette is that there's a mixture of everything, right? You get a little bit of everything. So you have your mattes, you have your transitions, you have your deepening shades. They all blend together so beautifully. I didn't experience any muddiness or patchiness or any kind of bullshit like that. And then of course you have your shimmer shades, which again, they're kind of like these really beautiful cool tone, jewel tone moments. And I really love the addition of the multi-chrome. I love these two shades in particular, the shade Dawn and the shade Magnolia. Magnolia is what I have all over my lid. Ugh. I'm just such a sparkly little queen. I love it. I absolutely adore it. The reason why this one is clearly my favorite is because this is something that I just kind of get excited. My makeup dick gets excited when I look at this, and I think about all the things that I want to do with it. For me, I get a lot of variety in this palette. And I think out of all three, actually, no, I take that back. Also Lauren's palette. I feel like these are really good standalone palettes. You can create a bunch of different looks without needing to look at something else. And that's just my opinion, right? That's what I love about this one, is that I see this and I'm like, okay, there are so many things I want to do. I'm mad that I only have 2 eye holes. Again, the other thing I want to point out is that it is a cool tone color story. I feel like it's very, very rare do we find a lot of cool tone moments. A lot of it's usually warm or just neutral bullshit and blah, 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 blah. This has a beautiful coolness to it. It's romantic, it's sophisticated. I don't have a bad thing to say about it. Like, this is perfect. I love this one. This one gives me all the feels of my makeup dick. I'm so happy with this one. So yeah, that one is just my favorite. It's my favorite. Usually I'm a huge fucking Libra and I cannot make a choice. Nope. My allegiance is to this one. That one is my favorite. So that said, let's talk about Lauren's palette. This is the Sea Talk palette. This is what she looks like. Oh my goodness. Again, this retails for $33.90. And let me break down the colors in this palette. We have Dolphin Tail, which is a gray toned light brown matte. Sunken Treasure, a brown gold shimmer base with gold tone shimmers. Electric Kelp, a light yellow metallic. Mermaid Scale, a pale teal shimmer base with multicolor shimmers. Ocean Jewel, a deep blue base with bright blue shimmers. Smoky Pearl, a coffee tone base with multicolor shimmers. Driftwood, a brown matte. Iridescent Shell, a bright pink shimmer base with multicolor shimmers. Sea Spray, a blue metallic with fine shimmers. And Night Swim, a deep inky blue matte. What I love about this palette is I don't know, like, it's the pure definition of a neutral with a pop of blue. The inner Anne in me is literally creaming their jeans, okay? That's disgusting. Would my Anne wear culottes? I don't know. My Anne's wearing some sort of soft linen pantsuit and she's creaming, okay? Because this is literally that neutral with the blue moment. However, you do have like these pops of color right here, these beautiful jewel tones here, that kind of makes it a little bit of like an Anne with a twist. An Anne with a little bit of flair. She had one too many Tom Collins and now she's dancing a little bit. You know what I mean? That's what I like about this palette. Again, very similarly to the Flora palette, the mattes, they're beautiful. Listen, if you have used Odin's Eye, then you know what their quality is. I love these mattes because one, they're easy to use, they're pigmented, and you can get a lot of dimension within the mattes. And they also have incredible longevity, right? When it comes to the shimmers, again, I would say the biggest complaint is the glitter bukkake, but honestly, you can kind of look past that. My only gripe with this palette is the shade Electric Kelp. I wanted it to just work a little bit better for me. I found that it worked really, really well in the inner corner. However, when I would put it on the lid or try to use it in the lower lash line, I think it's because it's that kind of like neon yellow shade. The pigmentation just wasn't there for me. Now, granted, what I used when using this palette was I use a concealer base. I'm pretty sure if I use something that kind of has like a white base, I feel like this would stand out more for me, but just using it on concealer, it kind of looked a little bit like, oh, all right. I wanted it to be really, really punchy. I wanted it to look very true to pan. I didn't get that experience, but I definitely think it's because of what I used. I think if I use something that has like a white base, so I kind of want to try this with like the Lethal Cosmetics gel liners. Those make for really good bases, eye bases. And I also kind of want to try it with like About Face because their little eye paints, those are fucking fantastic. I want to get a white one because I have a feeling that's the only way it's going to pop for me. But when used in the inner corner, oh bitch, it's good. It's so good. And then I was kind of thinking to myself, you know what? I kind of really like the idea that maybe this is only an inner corner shade for me because it's so punchy and so cool in the inner corner that it makes me not really want to have anything on the eyelid or have like an incredibly like super duper neutral look where it's just like brown on top of brown on top of brown, whatever, like just boring basic and bullshit. But having this pop of yellow in the inner corner, because there's a little bit of a metallic flair to it, it's going to make it pop pop. So it's like on one hand, it's like, oh, I wish it worked well on my eyelid. But on the other hand, I'm like, yes, bitch, as an inner corner, I rule the world. So I kind of want to play with this a little bit more, but that's probably the only thing that was kind of initially disappointing when using this palette. But beyond that though, I love the blues. There is something, I don't know. I think for a while I was kind of like, blue eyeshadow, whatever. But I think over time, I've been obsessed with these deep ocean jewel tones. These do not disappoint. But for me, I think my real favorite piece of this palette is just kind of like this neutral quad over here. Listen, y'all, I am a neutral queen and I love really neutral, basic, and bullshit. I'm all about that. And these shades do not disappoint. This whole quad right here, this portion, doesn't disappoint. I love the cool tone matte. I love that you have a warm tone matte. Both of the shimmers, whether you wanted to have like a cool tone moment or a warm tone moment, you can get that. This I feel like is a very versatile palette. You get a little bit of everything here. The other thing that I really, really do love about this palette too is that there is a certain kind of moodiness to it. So for me, this is going to be the palette that I reach for out of this whole collection to kind of give me that smoky, dramatic eye. Now, moving on to the Planet Spirit palette. Now, I swear that to me, this is Florida. This is Florida in a palette. I love this. This is Florida in a palette. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Betty Jean's palette. Planet Spirit retails for $33.90. First shade is Fauna, a multi-chrome with a pink base. Kingdom, a bright green matte. Animalia. Orange pearlescent shade with multicolor shimmers. Pride, a bright purple matte. Majestic, a golden yellow pearl shine with multicolor shimmers. Rescue, a bright pink matte. Familiar, a bright green shimmer base with multicolor shimmers. Habitat, a bright orange matte. Kindred, a deep purple shine with multicolor shimmers. And Sanctuary, a bright rose red matte. Out of all three palettes, this is going to be your colorful one right here. This one is it's Florida. It's straight up Florida. I fucking love it. It's so colorful. It's so fun. But my only thing about it is that I feel like when I look at it, I go, okay, these colors, specifically the shimmers in this palette, they are like the showstopper, right? Those are the colors that you just lay all over the lid, and that is going to be like the main attraction, right? So I look to other palettes to have like the boring transition colors or whatever. So I can kind of start that as a base because I only just want to use these as like the main event. When coming up with looks for this palette, I felt a little bit stunted because again, I just wanted to like start with another palette just to kind of have like a base down and then just really let these motherfuckers shine. Now, you can create looks just using this palette by itself, but if you're like me, very pedestrian, very basic, I feel like you might just be a little bit kind of stuck because you're like, I need a little bit of a neutral brown or something. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's so great about getting this collection as a whole is that when you look at these palettes together, they really do tell a complete story, right? So when looking for like a little bit of like a basicness in terms of like transitions or like a starting point, you know, you could get with either say this palette or this palette, right? So every one of them really, really just works very beautifully together. That said, these are so colorful, they're so bright. They're a lot of fun to play with. For colors that are so incredibly bright, they pack a lot of punch. I didn't experience any patchiness, any longevity issues. Like these motherfuckers are here to stay. If you love color, this is for you. If you're scared of color, this is not for you. I would say the other two palettes are definitely a more neutral base than this one. This is like the beautiful unicorn, you know what I mean? Like this has every bright color that you could possibly think of. And again, the pigmentation on them are just so fucking deep. And the best part is that there is literally no staining. So don't be scared that you're gonna look like you have pink eye or anything like that. These come off. Unlike some brands where their shades literally stay with you for years, okay? I feel like I have some pink remnants around my eye from some other fucking brands. These have no staining. So when coming up with the look that I created for this palette, I really was just drawn to this quad because I basically just wanted to turn myself into like a cartoon watermelon. And I think I achieved that. I really do. When I look at this, like this is the first thing that I'm drawn to. One, because this fucking green shimmer is everything. Oh my God, this green shimmer is everything. It's so beautiful. I knew I wanted that to be the focal point, but I also knew that I wanted to use the multi-chrome as a focal point too, because I felt like these two mixed together would just be everything that I wanted to be. And you know what? It was. I turned myself into a cartoon watermelon and I have no regrets. So again, I know I feel like I keep repeating myself, but if you are familiar with Odin's eye formula in the sense of like how their mattes and how their shimmers are, then you know what to expect. I didn't notice any differences really between the palettes. It was just more of like creatively, what do I want to do? I think this is the only palette that made me kind of look at other palettes just to be like, okay, I need a starting point. And I say that because I feel like as I get older, my preferences change. And I used to be a very, very colorful fish where the more color, the better. But now I kind of am more gravitating towards basic bitchery and looks and all that good stuff. And while I do appreciate my multi-chromes and my pops of color, I really leave that more to the center of the lid as like, again, the main attraction. I really haven't been someone that really would use like these brighter colors as, say, like a crease shade or anything like that. And I know that is totally a preference thing at the end of the day, right? Because I know there are some people that are like, hey, fuck those neutral colors. I hate them. I can't stand them. I want to just only bathe in colors. And that's great. And that's fucking wonderful. And that's the beauty about makeup, is that everyone has their own preference, right? There's no wrong fucking answer here. So for me to use this as a standalone palette, I'm going to have issues with it because I'm like, I just want to use like maybe one or two at a time. I'm going to be looking at some of these more neutral tones to really kind of start the look and this to kind of end it. So that's kind of like my 2 cents about these palettes. So above all, quality wise across the board, again, I found no issues with them. The mattes were incredibly pigmented. They were easy to use. They were blendable. They created really beautiful gradients. I didn't notice any patchiness or any difficulty blending. Even when using some of the purples, which are notoriously really, really difficult to make, I didn't experience any bullshit with it. The only shade that I was kind of like, I wasn't feeling initially, but then I figured out how to make it work, was the electric kelp shade. That was the only one that I did not like how it looked like on the lid, but I think that was more of a me problem, not necessarily a performance of the shadow. I think had I used a white base, I think it would actually perform a lot better. On a concealer, didn't really do much. But when used in the inner corner with nothing there, bitch, it fucking stood out. So I kind of have to play around with that shade if I want it to be on the lid, but I'm also okay with just making a neutral eye look and having that yellow be the focal point. I'm totally fine with that too. I think what's also really nice about each one of these palettes is that each one of them, while yes, they have like the same kind of packaging, right? They're all sister palettes at the end of the day. Each one is slightly different. So for example, the Sea Talk, all the mattes have a very beautiful scale embossing. The Flora palette has a leaf embossing. And my Florida palette, instead of having the Florida man, we have like the zebra or the tiger stripe pan embossing. Now when it comes to do you need all three of them? I say yes, because when you kind of line them next to each other, you see how well they pair with each other. But if I only had to pick one, I think it would be this one because I'm just drawn to this. This is more my speed, this in terms of color story. When I look at this, I just get all weak in the knees. My makeup kit gets really excited because I think of all the possibilities that I can have with it. These are beautiful as well. It's just my preferences lie with green. I am a slut for green at the end of the day. I can't help it. I have a lot of green palettes, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. More green the better in my opinion. That said, I would love to hear from y'all. Let me know down below if you are going to be picking up any of these palettes. Let me know because I love hearing from you. And again, congratulations to Amanda, Lauren, and Betty Jean. Y'all did a beautiful job. Congratulations. And again, thank you to Odin for sending my way. And with that said, I want to say thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it as always. Feel free to like, comment, hit that subscribe button. It's free, and hit that bell icon for notification of all my future posts. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, and YouTube members. Thank you so much for keeping this delicious, disgusting, filthy, trashy, really filthy, really gross, really nasty garbage boat afloat. Couldn't do without you, and I love your adorable little delicious faces. I just want to gulp you all up so you can live inside my belly and we can be one. That said, I will see you little pumpkins later. Bye.